The Galactic Combat Academy's most feared training facility hummed with nervous energy as Instructor Zixtar adjusted the containment field controls. Around the observation deck, representatives from 12 different species watched with barely contained anxiety. Today marked the first time a human would face the Thraken, the Academy's ultimate predator assessment. "Are you certain about this, Instructor?" chittered Ambassador Veloth, her chitinous plates rattling with worry. "The Thraken has never been used on a Class C species before. Perhaps we should start with something more appropriate for their physiology." Zixtar's forearms moved in a dismissive gesture. "The human specifically requested our most challenging predator scenario. Who are we to deny such enthusiasm?" His tone carried the condescension typical of Altarian instructors when dealing with newer species. In the arena below, Marcus, Chen stretched his shoulders and checked his basic combat gear, standard issue energy knife, minimal armor, and a gravity compensator. The other Academy cadets from various species had emerged from their Thraken encounters, either traumatized or requiring medical attention. None had lasted more than 3 minutes. "Subject is in position," announced the Academy's AI. "Releasing Thraken in 3, 2, 1. The containment barrier shimmered and vanished. From the shadows of the arena's far end came a sound that made every observer's instinctive prey responses activate, a low, rumbling growl that seemed to vibrate through the deck plating itself. The Thraken emerged like living nightmare fuel. 12 feet of corded muscle and razor-sharp carapace, it moved with the fluid grace of evolution's perfect killer. 6 limbs ending in molecular edge claws, compound eyes that tracked heat signatures, and a jaw that could crush battle armor. This particular specimen had been engineered over millennia by the Academy's predecessor civilization as the ultimate training tool, a creature that tested not just combat ability, but the fundamental survival instincts of sapient beings. Marcus stood completely still, watching as the creature stalked into the arena's center. His heart rate, monitored by the Academy's sensors, barely elevated above resting levels. "Curious," muttered Zixtar, checking his readings. "Human physiological responses appear minimal." The Thraken caught Marcus's scent and turned toward him with predatory focus. It let out a bone-rattling shriek and charged, covering the distance with terrifying speed. 20 feet, 15, 10. At 5 feet, Marcus moved. He didn't dodge or retreat. Instead, he stepped forward and slightly to the side, his energy knife appearing in his hand with practiced efficiency. As the Thraken's primary claw swept toward where his torso had been, Marcus was already inside its guard, the superheated blade sliding between carapace plates with surgical precision. The creature's momentum carried it past him as Marcus rolled with the motion, coming up behind the now wounded predator. Before the Thraken could turn, Marcus had located another joint weakness and struck again. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Veloth. "How did he know where to strike?" The Thraken spun with surprising agility for its size, back claws extending toward Marcus. This time the human grabbed one of the creature's rear limbs and used its own rotation to swing himself onto its back. The energy knife found the neural cluster at the base of the creature's skull. The Thraken collapsed, not dead but thoroughly neutralized within 47 seconds. The observation deck fell silent. Marcus stood brushing dust from his uniform and looked up at the instructor booth. "That was interesting," he called out, his voice carrying clearly through the arena's acoustics. "But I have to ask, do these things come in bigger sizes?" Instructor Zixtar's 4 hands frozen over his controls. In 3,000 years of Academy operations, no one had ever asked that question. "Bigger sizes?" Zixtar's translator struggled with the concept. Marcus shrugged, completely relaxed despite having just dispatched the Academy's apex predator. "Well, yeah, I mean, it was decent practice, but where I come from, we've got things that would make this little guy look like a house cat. Ever heard of a Kodiak bear? Saltwater crocodile? And those are just the non-extinct ones." Ambassador Veloth's chitinous plates had gone completely white. "Little guy?" "Oh, sure," Marcus continued, warming to his subject. Back home, my grandmother used to tell stories about hunting trips with my grandfather. They'd track things, twice this size through terrain that would kill most species, just from the environmental conditions. Of course, that was before we developed proper civilization and stopped needing to personally wrestle our dinner to death. The Academy's AI, programmed to be helpful, chimed in. Records indicate the Thraken is 3.7 meters in length and masses approximately 847 kilograms. Inquiry. What constitutes a house cat in human terms? About 4 kilograms, give or take, Marcus replied cheerfully. Though my sister's cat, Mr. Whiskers, is pushing 6 kilos. He's a chunky boy. In the observation booth, several species representatives had begun backing toward the exits. The realization was settling in like a cold weight in their stomachs. If humans considered the Academy's ultimate predator to be roughly equivalent to one of their small domestic companions, what exactly were they dealing with? There must be some mistake in the translation protocols, Zixtar muttered, frantically checking his equipment. Perhaps house cat doesn't mean what we think it means. Marcus, meanwhile, had begun examining the unconscious Thraken with the detached curiosity of a zoologist. Interesting evolutionary adaptations, he noted. Though the exoskeleton seems like overkill for something this size. What ecological pressures shaped this design? It was artificially enhanced, Zixtar stammered. Specifically designed to be the perfect predator. Huh? Marcus nodded approvingly. Good engineering. Though if you really want to see perfect predator design, you should check out Earth's ocean ecosystems. We've got these things called great white sharks that have remained basically unchanged for 400 million years. Now that's optimization. Ambassador Veleth had gone from white to a sickly green color. 400 million years of predator evolution. Oh, that's nothing, Marcus said with a grin. Wait until you hear about the things that made the sharks nervous. As Marcus continued his impromptu lecture on Earth's biodiversity, the Academy's staff began quietly updating their threat assessment protocols for human species integration. Somewhere in the files, a new classification was being created. Caution. Death World origin species. Recommend immediate diplomatic status upgrade. The Thraken stirred slightly and let out a weak growl. Marcus patted it gently on what might have been its shoulder. There, big guy. You did your best. In the observation deck, Instructor Zixtar made a mental note to requisition larger predators, much larger predators if such things even existed,